Hello, everybody. My name is David, and I'm going to be going through some of the project management capabilities within Epicor Kinetic. And I'm going to focus primarily on the operations side within project management. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a project inside of Epicor. And we've got a number of projects in here, but I'm going to open up this one that we call the CAP 1000 or the Capital Machine Project. Now, when I open up this particular project, I'm going to talk about some of the structure within here first and foremost. So, of course, here's my project ID. You can have a start date and you can have an end date on this particular project. But other things that you might notice is I'm going to have phases within this project. Now, these are WBS phases, or as other folks might call them, work breakdown structure phases. And I've got things like design, engineering, manufacturing, and installation inside of this phase. I can also have sub-phases too. So as you can see here, I've got a mechanical engineering phase, and I've got an electrical engineering phase with the parent phase of engineering on here. I can date range it. So I can say what's the start date and due date of these phases. And I can have durations on them, whether they're in hours or they might be in days. I can also have milestones within a project. So if you need to do things like track progress on a project or do billing on a milestone, such as like design completion, I could do that, or production completion, I could set up those milestones. And you can say whether it's going to be a fixed amount or if it might be a cost to date, which we would be tracking inside of Epicor Kinetic as well. Other things that commonly come up all the time are whether or not I can have things like workflow or tasks on this. And you can. So I can see on the checklist tasks, whether it's an internal sign-off or it might be a customer sign-off. These are things that can be put inside of a project as well. And you can say whether it is a to-do item, could be an approval, could be a customer approval, whether it's in process or completed, and you can assign certain people or peoples to this particular project task as well. So of course this can go into their queue and you could be monitoring whether these tasks get completed or not. Now let's talk about a little bit of other things about a project too. So if I go to my related area here, I can relate things like sales orders or quotes or jobs or even purchase orders directly to this project. So as we like to explain it within Epicor, a project, if you think of it as like an umbrella, it's an umbrella that encompasses everything that you want to have related to the particular project on here. So instead of, for example, having to kind of manually print out a number of sales orders, or let's talk about like work orders or jobs, where I have to aggregate and manually kind of calculate costs and do things like that. A project envelops everything. So I just relate everything to a single project. I can have multiple POs, multiple jobs, quotes, or sales orders within a project. And if I go to my project costs area here, here's where I'm calculating things like total quoted costs or total estimate versus actual, what the CTC or calculated cost to complete might be on this project, what the projected total might be, and I can have budget amounts on here. And I'll come back to this after we do a little bit of other demo and see how these costs come into this particular project. One thing that I'm going to mention again right away is if I go to my details, a lot of folks might be familiar with Microsoft Project. And if I come into here and if I take a look at this, we natively integrate with Microsoft Project. So if you're familiar with that, this project management area probably looks pretty familiar to you, but we can natively import and export from an MPP file. So I want to talk about that and show you that. And we also have a Gantt chart within the project management area as well within Epicor Kinetic. So if I want to do something like, let's say, take a look at a project scheduling board, I'll just go ahead and I'll launch the Kinetic application for my scheduling board on this particular project. And once this opens up, we're going to be able to see all the information that relates to this particular project. So I can see here, I can move these around too, and you can make it as big or as little as you want to, so I could start seeing that information. As you can see here, the things like design and engineering, those are those work breakdown structure phases, and these are the milestones that you're seeing there. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And I could open this up, and if I wanted to see like the engineering subphases, I can even see the jobs that go along with the manufacturing phase, because I can relate jobs and orders and purchase orders to specific work breakdown structure phases. But let's just go to the total project level again. What I can also do is I can link these together. So I might want to link design and engineering together. And if I do that, that becomes, design is a predecessor of engineering. So let's say what I wanted to do is I wanted to drag design over here. And I might want to say, what's going to happen if I reschedule design into that particular area? Then it natively knows that engineering needs to move along with it, and design is a predecessor of engineering because I've natively linked those together. And then, of course, all the milestones need to move along with it too. So not only can I graphically see things inside the scheduling board, but I can drag and drop things as I want to be able to do within this scheduling board as well. Let's also talk about kind of these work breakdown structure phases. And I'm going to take a look at this design work breakdown structure phase. I can have jobs and I can have operations on this particular phase. So as you can see here, I've got an operation of designing the part, and I've got my job number of the CAP 1000 job number on here. Okay, so what I could actually do now is I could go into the system and I could put time against this particular job. So if you wanted to do things like track your design time or track your engineering time against a project, which is going to bring costs into the project, I can do that right inside of the software. So let's go ahead and let's go into time entry. So once I go into time entry, the only thing that I would have to do now is go into my time details area. I would just say that I'm putting in a new time, and the thing that we need to keep in mind is that this is going to be a project type time. So I would either type in or I would search the project that I'm working on. I'm working on CAP 1000, and then I would just say again the phase. I mean, I might be actually working on, let's say, mechanical engineering, and I'd drop that down. And then now I would just say, how long did I work on it? I might have worked on it all day. And if I worked on it all day, all I would have to do now is I would just submit my time. And that's one way that I can start getting time right inside of the system really quickly and really easily. But let's show another way that we can get time into the system. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to a purpose-built mobile application. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got what we call an Epicor time application. And when I open this up, I can see, what's been approved, what's been submitted, what's been rejected. But all I have to do now is just say, I'm going to put in a new time. And in this case, it's going to be a project time, right? And I might have worked on this for 8 hours. All I'd have to do is search for the project that I'm working on. I'm working on that CAP 1000 project. I might be an electrical engineer, so I'm going to work on the electrical engineering phase. And then, of course, just, what operation I might be working on here, how many hours I worked on it. Maybe I worked on it 9 hours instead on here. And I could just say, done for the day, or put whatever notes I want to put on there. And I would be submitting my time right through this application. So it's just another easy way to be able to get time into the software. But another thing that's kind of nice about the system is we have an area where you can put even expenses in. So if an engineer or an installation worker or something had to be working at, outside of your organization and needed to submit expenses, they could do that. So they would just come in here. I could even put it directly to my project, and I would just find the project that I want to put the expense against, the particular phase, like it might be installation, for example. This could be like hotel accommodations, what kind of, tax it might go against, and then just the amount. So if I say that the hotel was $150, great. I would put in my comment like it was a Marriott hotel. And then as you can see down there, I can put attachments on there. So I could attach the receipt, or I could take a picture of the receipt, and all I would have to do there is I would just submit that particular expense. And that would go again directly against the project. So let's go back into the project and kind of see all that information that flowed right into the cost area. Okay, so now I'm back into the CAP 1000 project inside of Epicor Kinetic. So, I put in my time through a mobile expense application. I put in my time through the regular Kinetic application, and I put some expenses against this project. And if you remember over on here, we took a look at that project cost area. So if I go back into my project cost area, and what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to refresh this particular screen. And what we're going to be able to see now is we're going to be able to see kind of all these totals flow in. So of course, there's the quoted totals. There's where I estimated at. Here's currently what I'm at actually. There's the CTC. Here's what the projected totals are. And this is what I had for a budgeted amount. Now, this is at the total project level. But remember, if I go to a phase level detail, I could take a look at this design phase. I could even get broken down phase costs if I want to be able to see this for the particular phase. So I can even get more detailed information. So at the design phase, there's how we quoted it, here's how we estimated it, and here's where we're actually at with a projected total on here as well. So it just depends at what level you're looking to get this particular information, and we can provide you that particular information. As well as there's always a question about kind of, I'll say, resource allocation too. So if I take a look at this work breakdown structure detail, notice I did have a job or a work order number for this design phase. So let's go ahead and kind of take a look at what that looks like. So if I go into the project job for my design phase job, I'm going to kind of describe how we can help you folks out, even with scheduling resources like a designer or an engineer. So when I go to my assemblies area here, notice I've got my design operation on here. It's scheduled for, 55 hours. And I've got scheduling resources against it. So I've got kind of an engineering general area on here. But if you take a look at the second one, what I'm doing is I'm scheduling down to what we call a capability. And I've got a capability on here called designer. So let's take a look at what that capability is. I'm going to open up my capability entry. And when I open up my capability entry, I'm going to look up that designer, okay? And I'll explain kind of what this is. So when I open up my designer, I take a look at my resources, and I'll just filter my priority. What the software is going to do is it's going to look at John first, and if he doesn't have open time, then it's going to look down to Doug. And if Doug doesn't have open time, looks down to Michelle, and then finally down to Jeff. And I can even put different production factors on here. So, John and Doug kind of do like to like, but Michelle might be a less experienced engineer or designer, and she might take a little bit longer. And then Jeff might even take a little bit longer than Michelle. And the software can help automate that scheduling of resources for you folks right there as well. So just kind of wanted to point out that capability through Epicor Kinetic. Okay. All right. So, kind of to summarize everything out, go back to my home screen here. Kind of what I went through is more of the operational focus of project management within Epicor Kinetic. Epicor Kinetic's projects, again, is kind of like an umbrella which envelops everything, including quotes, sales orders, purchase orders, and jobs. I can calculate costs. I can have work breakdown structure phases. I can have Gantt chart scheduling boards, milestones, and tasks. So project management is a really great feature to be able to use within Epicor Kinetic. And I hope this gave you a good overview of what this particular area can do.